We now want to bring in Stephen Wallace. He's a former director of accident investigation at the FAA. And perhaps you can help us understand how the hierarchy coordinates with each other. The NTSB, of course, taking the lead. But because you have a military helicopter involved, I'm wondering how they coordinate with DOD.
Yeah, they will work very cooperative, but the investigation will be run by the NTSB, and they will invite the parties. Like I was the head of the accident investigation for the FAA. FAA is always a party, particularly here where there will be issues around air traffic control. The military will be a party. The military will conduct its own investigation. It has its own procedures, but this is fundamentally, well, it's a combination, obviously, of a civil aircraft and a military aircraft accident. But the NTSB will really have the lead as far as the White House. I mean, they're not really going to be involved in the nitty gritty of the accident, but they certainly have a role in, addressing the public concerns and
Right.
the overall system.
And Stephen, considering your background in all of this, it's 8:40 in the morning, so we're almost about exactly 12 hours after this tragedy unfolded. What do you make of the early information, the ATC audio, which seems to show the control tower confirming with the Black Hawk helicopter to get visual confirmation of the incoming jet, those on the chopper saying, we do see the aircraft, and then the collision moments later, the fact that this is the Mount Vernon visual approach for the jet, a relatively new route up runway 33. What's your early impression, based on what we know, of how this happened?
Well, as a professional in this field, I am not going to speculate as to the cause of the accident, but I mean, I can certainly offer observations here, and it was clearly where the controller was relying on the pilot's ability to see and avoid, and ask the pilot to be clear that the helicopter pilot had seen the aircraft. I think it's I think there'll be a huge focus on the limitations of kind of the see and avoid, particularly here we are in a nighttime environment with lots of lights and things flying around. It is just sort of your common sense would tell you, is it possible to think you see the airplane, but you're actually seeing something else? I think there'll be a large focus on whether the see and avoid practice is sufficient in all cases. And I would point out here that this is the first time that a United States airliner has been in a midair collision, I believe I'm right, since September of 1978. And we're talking about a system, and that was a PSA midair collision with a 727 in San Diego. And we're talking about a system that operates the air traffic control system, probably 45,000 flights in the United States every day. And I'm not sure how many of those are airliner flights, maybe 28,000. It depends who you ask. But so this system is incredibly safe, yet what happened. And so obviously it's not perfect.
And could it, well, you don't want to speculate, and we don't want to speculate either, but at this early stage, you have relatives of these victims who are desperate to know why this happened. Could it be as simple as a visual and verbal miscommunication? I mean, one thing that's always struck me flying in and out of DCA is just how visually mesmerizing it is, no matter the time of day. You see the Washington Monument, you see the Capitol Dome as you come in, as you leave. There is so much military activity in the form of these choppers carrying VIPs around, sometimes on training missions. But could it be as simple as a visual and audio miscommunication?
I don't. I don't particularly. I don't know. I mean, let me say that with, of course, our hearts go out to the families. The It's day one of an accident investigation, and uh, it's always the case that people are sort of most desperate for information when they have the least amount of information. And what I can say is that the NTSB that I worked with for many, many years, they are extremely methodical, they are extremely thorough, and all of the evidence they could want will be present here. I think you'll find that that aircraft, the airliner, will have had the most sophisticated voice and flight data recorders that record hundreds of parameters. They have radar data, they have audio data, they have eyewitnesses. So there's no shortage of information. But the NTSB will very methodically go through every bit of it, and they won't announce the probable cause of this accident typically for a year or more, oftentimes.
Right. They'll take the time to speak with everyone involved, get all of the data, the flight data recorder, the voice recorder, and issue a very sobering report. Every time you see the NTSB reports from incidents like this, there are some surprises sometimes and eye-opening remarks. Stephen Wallace, thank you for joining us today and giving your early thoughts.